This is the Cubs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Cubs Postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. Joe George here with you as always after every single Cubs game. The Cubs lose 6-2 to the Texas Rangers. Look, they've won 4 out of 6 on this homestand. Yes, we would have liked to sweep, but they just can't get it done. One bad inning from Shota really does it in. Not a lot from the offense as well. So we'll talk about everything that happened in this game, the series overall, and we'll talk about Justin Steele hitting the injured list for the next 15 days. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money using code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, so the Cubs lose 6-2. Not a great game today. No other way to spin it. The offense was not good in this game. They only had 3 base runners until the 9th inning there when Ian Happ got on, and of course, or until Suzuki and Happ both got on there in the 9th inning. Yes, they made it 6-2. Small hope there for a comeback, of course, when you get a couple guys on base, but they just can't get anything going today offensively against the Rangers. So look, when you're coming into this game and you've scored 7 or more runs in 7 of your last 8 games, you're going to have duds out there. And that's what today's game was overall. Just kind of a dud for the Cubs up and down. And right away, we're going to get into it just because there's no other way to spin it. Let's get to our turning point of today's game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Very easily, the turning point in this game is what happens to Shota in the 5th inning. So it's 1-1 after Suzuki hits the triple. He gets driven home. It's 1-1, and then they face the Rangers come up and they get 4 runs in the top of the 5th. So Shota's day: 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, and 1 walk. So obviously not the best day for Shota, but a 2.7 ERA on the season. He's not going to be perfect in every single game. So look, the offense is not good in this game, and just that 1 inning really does it in. Like, again, you can't expect these guys to be perfect. There's no reason to look at this game and be really upset besides that, just the fact that they were not good enough to get the sweep. But again, they won 4 out of 6 on this homestand before they now go to face the Dodgers and the Padres. They've won or split every single series in the United States of America this year, so they've let you lose a series. So the Cubs are on a really strong start to the year. You look at what the lineup's done. Seiya Suzuki, 7 of his last 10 games, he had multiple hits after getting that one in the bottom of the 9th there. So he's really been also consistent in this last recent stretch for the Cubs. Kyle Tucker, his on-base streak continues. Now it's at 14 games, I believe, so far this year, and we're still seeing the constant performance from them. It's just today was just not a good one for the lineup. Now let's talk about what some of the things we saw in this game. You know, the frustrating one is obviously it's just the lack of hits, right? Like, not having guys on base is really what's going to do you in. I did also feel like in this game, I think you can look at there in the 9th inning before, I think it was the 8th inning, sorry, where they had 2 outs with 3 pitches. So they were a little more impatient, it did feel like, in this game. Maybe a sign of pressing from the lineup in this one, just not seeing as many pitches. And look, we've seen the Cubs really, their reason for success, the lineup, a lot of it this year has been getting walks, the traffic that they've had on base. When you only have 3 guys on base until the 9th inning, you're just not going to do much with it. Now, to credit to them, before Shota gave up the 4 runs in the 5th, they took advantage of the one opportunity they had. So Suzuki gets the triple, Michael Busch comes up, he drives him in. So you feel like at that point, with the way the Cubs have been playing recently, they're going to find a way to win this baseball game, and then it just kind of implodes on Shota. And look, this is, I know going into this series, like especially after like the first game in the postcast show, the Texas Rangers, look, they came in well above 500, but they were one of the worst lineups in baseball, if not the worst, I believe, by batting average. The Texas Rangers are a really good baseball team. Don't let that fool you, I think, with what you've seen so far for them this season. And I think today's lineup, what you saw, 2 home runs from Corey Seager, Jonah Heim having success against you really throughout this series. He's been their best hitter so far for the Rangers throughout the entire year. He had his 3rd home run of the season, and then he gets a single from the other side of the plate when Shota comes out of the game as well. So this is probably more like a reality of what they were. But I don't want to take away from what the Cubs pitching staff did in the previous 2 games as well. They just got the best out of you in this one. So Shota's not at his best. The lineup's not very good. it's just not a reason for success in this game. And yes, as Knowledge Untamed says here, Justin Steele being out hurt is sad. We'll talk about that in the second segment of today's show because, look, in a game like this, there's not a ton of like X's and O's baseball things to go through besides the fact that you just were not good enough in this one. But again, you take this homestand with what you got. Take the positives out of a loss. You could have swept the last two series. You failed to do so. You beat the Padres. You beat the Rangers, two teams that are expected to be playing deep into the playoffs this year. So still a very good start to the Cubs season at this point. All right, before we go to our first break, let's get to our Locked On Player of the Game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
All right, today's Locked On Player of the Game. Very quickly here, we're going to take a quick poll question from the chat. So there's two ways to look at this. We had comments after one of the Diamondback games. I gave it to Suarez. People were upset that I gave a Locked On Player of the Game to an opposing player. And then some people were like, well, why are you doing it? Well, they asked me to do it. They asked me to do the Locked On Player of the Game. So I'm going to give the Locked On Player of the Game to Seiya Suzuki. 2 hits in this game. 7 out of his last 10 games. He's had multiple hits, but just quick reaction from the chat here, the people that are here today on this Wednesday afternoon. Are you okay if I give it to an opposing player? Because Corey Seager really is the player of this game. 2 home runs. And look, look back at the series overall as a positive, Corey Seager really was shut down until this game. Again, slow start to the year, but they're going to figure it out. And it wouldn't shock me if all of a sudden we see Corey Seager take off at this point in the season after a slow start, because he's just been a slow starter this year for some reason. But we'll give it to Suzuki, the Locked On Player of the Game, for having 2 hits. Really the only really the only guy that really contributed to the Cubs in this game. All right, we'll take a break. We'll talk about more about this series, get your reaction to today's game, more reaction to this game, the series overall, and we'll talk about Justin Steele being out for at least the next 15. Thinks it's only the next 15 days, but we'll talk about that more here in the next segment on the Locked On Cubs postcast on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keeping you feeling you fuller longer. Can't talk there. I go with the no shells, easy. Don't want to be working for a snack. I'm lazy. I don't want to be doing that. Road trip, at the office, whatever. I don't want to be dealing with shells. I don't want to be throwing them out and getting my hands all extra dirty and things like that. So I'm a no shell kind of guy myself with Wonderful Pistachios. Get snacking, get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Today's show also brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. Love the all-in-one convenience that they have. Instead of having to go through multiple apps to track finances, you can do all of it through Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right, so the Cubs lose this game, but they win 2 out of 3 in the series. So positives, yes. Let's talk about Justin Steele a little bit here before we get back into just overall what we saw, expectations a little bit before a day off, before you play the Dodgers and the Padres in a tough 6-game road trip that they got coming up here. So Justin Steele goes on the 15-day injury list with elbow tendonitis. So before the game, Justin met with the media. He said that he was starting to feel his arm tighten up a little bit. It was the fourth or fifth inning. And this is, to me, what's important. Not just the fact that he thinks it's a minimum stay. He said the Cubs, put him on the injured list. So, 15-day IL. He feels confident it's only going to be 15 days. The Cubs, it was their decision. This, to me, feels very precautionary. Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one on TV. But 15-day IL, so he's going to miss presumably 3 starts. I obviously think at this point in the season, maybe a toss-up if he would do a rehab start. I doubt it. I just don't know if we'll see him go very deep into his next start when he's back on the mound in 15 or 16 days, whatever it's going to end up being. But it does hurt you, right? Like you do have a very tough schedule this month. So if you look at the projecteds of what he's going to miss, he pitched 2 days ago, so you probably would have missed him. So you would have missed him in the Dodgers series. So he's going to miss the Padres. He's probably going to miss probably would miss the Dodgers, the 2 home games on the 22nd and 23rd, and then maybe a game against like Pittsburgh as well. I mean, 15 days is a tough one to figure out because of the off days included. But he's going to miss 3 starts. That's fine. It's not the end of the world as long as it is only 15 days. Now, look, I don't know how people listening, watching feel. I am a general rule of thumb, I am kind of a pessimist when it comes to elbow injuries or just injuries in baseball. I feel like in baseball, more than any other sport, teams are a little more either precautious or not as forward with what an injury actually is. I also don't love the word tendinitis. It just makes you wonder if that's going to be a lingering thing. But there's no concern about Tommy John or anything like that. This would be a much different conversation. There would be a different tone from Justin Steele and from the Cubs if there was anything serious. So this really just feels like a minor injury that's going to happen. And yes, it's going to hurt you as you go through the rest of the month. We'll see what the reactionary move is. Obviously, Evan Roberts comes up today. He was pretty solid in his inning of work. I don't think that's obviously a starting situation for the Cubs. So curious what move they'll make. Someone here already asked, where is Horton? It could be an option. I don't know if the Cubs will go that route. I think it's kind of a wild card of what they will do. And, I don't think they would go down this path, but bullpen days are always an option as well. I don't think the Cubs bullpen's deep enough. The answer, honestly, might just be Colin Ray. Kind of feels like that's what he's on the team for. He's making, $5 million? So that might be your solution where Roberts fits into the bullpen and Colin Ray is probably your starter trying to get you, 4 innings in a game, and then you let the bullpen take over. But we'll see how it plays out. So nothing to panic about, I don't think, with Justin Steele. But the fact is he's going to be out for 15 days. And yes, he thinks himself, he told the media, he thinks that will be it. So as long as it's that, then we're all good with the Cubs rotation. So this series, very, very positive. Yes, the Rangers came in struggling, but your Cubs, the Bats, until today, were fantastic through 2 games, as they've been really for pretty much since they've been stateside. They've been very good this year. Kyle Tucker, again, 14th straight game, getting on base. Seiya Suzuki, 7 of his last 10 games, has had multiple hits. We're seeing guys like Nico Horner have very good starts to the season. So what's next is the Dodgers and the Padres. Now, the Dodgers, you're going to face the same 2 guys you faced in Japan. You're going to face Yamamoto. You're going to face Roki Sasaki, who's kind of been a roller coaster so far this season. And then we'll see, I think it's going to be Glasnow, I think is who they said is going to be the third one. So you're going to see this is a tough series. Now, this is where, to the detractors out there, this is your chance to see what the Cubs really look like. Because, yes, you've missed Dylan Cease, you've missed Jacob deGrom, you've missed some of the best pitchers the last 2 series so far against the Padres and against the team they're playing right now. I just had the worst brain fart of all time. The Texas Rangers. So you'll face the best pitching from the Dodgers. It's a good thing. I want to see it. I want to see what this Cubs lineup looks like against those guys because, look, you want to challenge yourself. So you want to see what it looks like against the elite of the elite, and 2 of those 3 guys so far for the Dodgers do look that. I'm not so sure about Roki Sasaki. I hate to be, looking about like the nearly crying after being pulled out of his first start in the States after getting bullied bald a little bit and just not being able to find the strike zone. So I'm curious what he's going to look like. And obviously couldn't find the strike zone against the Cubs either. So I feel pretty good. I think a reasonable goal for this next series, I would say these next 2 series, 500. At worst, 2-4. I know that might feel like low expectations, but the Dodgers are obviously elite and the Padres are good and you've already beat them in 1 series. So 2-4, 3-3. Not crazy expectations for me over the rest of these next 2 series before you get back home to Wrigley Field. All right, before we wrap up, let's get to what you'll be talking about after today's game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
I probably could just roll this one with Justin Steele. Justin Steele being out 15 days, that's obviously the topic of conversation. Who's going to come up? Who's going to fill that void? That's clearly the number one topic of conversation after this game. And still, the positive of winning another series, 3 straight series wins, is a very good thing. So those are really, to me, very clearly the 2 topics of conversation for Cubs fans right now. And I know there are a lot of people that are, Justin Steele, a lot of comments, even after his last start where he was fantastic. It's like, well, as long as he's healthy. So we'll see what happens. But as long as it's only a 15-day IL set, again, not to repeat myself too much, but feel good about where he's at in this season. And he'll be back on the mound in, 2.5 weeks or whatever it's going to actually end up being. And we'll see how he looks. All right, we'll be the short show today, so that will do it for us. We'll be back on Friday night after the Dodgers game. Remember, we'll be here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, even after the Cubs play the Dodgers on Sunday Night Baseball. So thanks for watching. Make sure you find me on Twitter at JoeGeorgeRadio. Hit that subscribe button and like on the video as well. And you can find our audio wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. Just search for Locked On Cubs. Thanks for watching. We will talk to you on Friday night. Peace.